so I explained to her the 4 rules of life.
Okay.
And once you know these 4 rules, then automatically you'll always be at peace. Okay, the first rule is the basic one that covers all 4. But it's what is called the unified field, oneness. Okay. Everything is one. Okay, so everything else that we're going to be discussing are different modifications of this first one.
Okay.
The second one is that nothing happens by chance. There are no accidents. This is a big one.
It's a big rule, yeah.
Because many people says, why did this happen to
yeah.
me? Why me?
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
And nothing happens by chance. There couldn't be any accidents in anything that happens. Okay, and if anything arises, you ask me.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
The third one is balance. This means that whatever you give out returns to you. So if you happen to be thinking negative thoughts,
yeah.
immediately you begin to feel negative, automatically. If you happen to be thinking positive thoughts, then you feel positive. If you happen to be loving towards someone, then immediately that very loving of that someone makes you feel good and makes you feel loved. If you hate someone or dislike someone that you are with and you don't feel loving, you automatically don't feel being loved. Okay? So what goes around comes around, so that's the third rule. You see, what you give out, you receive. The fourth one is one of the most powerful because of our, for the ego's need to change things. The fourth one is called, is this. Fate is set. F-A-T-E. It is set. Yeah, this is set. And it's set in ways that you can either accept it, which will mean your growth, your spiritual evolution reaches its peak, or you can reject it, and it's called suffering.
Yeah.
Okay, your fate is the things that you are born as you, that you cannot do anything about. You're born a man.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it. Okay?
Yeah.
You might say, didn't I choose that? Yes, we choose everything, but it wasn't a conscious choice.
Yeah.
It was a choice by the way we've been, because it's eternal, you see.
Yeah.
So all the time we're creating choices. So when you are born, since nothing happens by chance, then you are born in that particular fate because that's what you need for you to evolve further. So you're born a man or a woman, you're born an Aquarian or a Libra or a Capricorn or whatever. Immediately the Enneagram starts getting set right from childhood because of your temperament, your tendencies.
Yeah.
So all these are fate. You see, some people have asked, well, is homosexuality a bad thing? And I said, aren't most people born homosexual? They are. And if they're born homosexual, that's their fate. And that's why they have to learn to face, you see. So sexual preference too is not something imposed as much as we think.
Some people think so, yeah.
I know, but that's unawareness. Okay? I have known quite a few that, for example, a young man came to see me one time and he said, ever since I was young I played with dolls. You see, and I loved cooking, taking care of the house and all this, and he was a homosexual. But what happened is that his parents rejected him. You know, they tried to change him. And of course, you can imagine what happened to him. You see, he became a very complex human being with a lot of pain, with a lot of pain body, because he was rejected from the way he was. He couldn't change because that was his fate. That's what he had to experience, you see. So this brings us again to that understanding of the totality, that everything is as it is because it has to be the way it is. Okay, see? And that's where love comes in. You see, because the one thing, when we evolve, people ask, well, what happens? And what happens is that you manifest, or rather express unconditional love. Unconditional love means you love everything because it is. So even if people don't believe as you do, they believe something differently, You accept their belief too, because that's what they believe. That's unconditional love, you see.
Sure.
You don't try to change anybody or control anybody or resist anybody. That's unconditional love. And that is the whole point of the evolved life. You see, the perfect life. So, these are...
No, it's very good, yeah. I have plenty of questions now.
Oh, good,
No.
good. Okay.
So the first rule you were talking about was the idea that everything is one.
That's right.
And that goodness is our nature. Is that right?
That's right.
So what do you say to people who have experienced suffering for so long or since such an early age that they say, but that's not my case, because when I was born until now, everything has been evil or difficult.
Yeah.
And so it seems, I'm sure to some people, that good might be. I was listening to Desmond Tutu on a talk show, and he said evil is an aberration.
It's an aberration.
Yes, which is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
But some people would say no. If they've suffered for a long time, good must be an aberration.
Yeah.
Don't you think, Burt?
Yes.
So what would you say?
Because of conditioning. You see.
Yeah.
See, this is the whole point of going back to the unified field.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. The unified field has been absolutely even not psychologists but scientists have discovered this. Einstein's theory of relativity, David Bohm, the holographic universe, and scientists discovered now that it's a unified field theory is the truth. Okay, and the quantum mechanics, for example, right now are proving more and more that everything is interrelated, interdependent, interconnected. So this means that love is the fortifying force, is the real force in the universe.
Because that's
love.
The one that
because that's one.
Everywhere.
It's one. So if I know you are part of me because we feel this oneness, don't I love you?
Of course.
Of course, because it's all one, right? So everything is one, then goodness is the very nature of life. Now people have experienced, quote, evil and suffering in their life. It is because they, in their way, they haven't learned that oneness is the truth. So they think in terms of separation. They are against me, I am against them, those people are bad. The moment you say somebody is bad, you see, you have made a judgment that simply separated you from them.
Right.
Any immediate separation, if you've been brought up in separation, I mean, I remember I was brought up in Malta. Malta suffered a great deal during the Second World War.
Right, right.
And one time I remember going to church, because I was brought up a Catholic when I was young, listening to the priest, and the priest said that the German people are evil people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because of what they did during the Second World War. And of course that there was separation there. Now that doesn't mean that that priest itself was a bad priest. It simply was not aware that the very process of life is a unified field. Everything is one. Unconditional love is the premise of our existence, you see. So we think in terms of evil because there is, again, I have to go back to what I was saying. We think in terms of separation. You see, I am a body, you are a different body, therefore we are separate. We do not realize that what keeps the body going is life itself, and life is
And that's
one.
the goodness.
And that's the goodness.
So you can even look at a tree, which is always growing perfectly. It never really falls over when it grows.
Right.
And that's your proof.
Right?
Right.
Right. Beautiful.
Goodness.
If you observe nature, how grass greens almost by itself, the flowers bloom, everything beauty. This is all the nature. It's all good.
That's very beautiful.
Yeah. And no matter if a person was brought up in slavery and they've never known freedom, yet in their heart they always want to be free.
Yeah.
Why? Because freedom, love, beauty, joy is the very nature of life. Unconditional love. You see?
And it's just been corrupted along the way.
And it gets corrupted because, again, we begin to feel separation. And then you might say, but do we start thinking separation from young age? Unfortunately, we do, because we're brought up by parents who teach us separation.